What's going on, bottom line viewers? It's Mitch here with Dilly Vanilli. We are here to discuss, break down, and predict the Philadelphia Eagles 2019 NFL season. The Eagles, super high expectations coming in the 2019 season. They're one of these NFC teams that are right there as the favorites to win this conference and to go to the Super Bowl. I think all fans look at this roster and just like us, they realize that this team is loaded. This team's ready now to win a Super Bowl once again. And after a little bit of a down season, kind of an injury-riddled season last year, and quarterback play that was inconsistent, and just not finding their identity as a football team until it was too late, the Eagles come into 2019, hopefully building off of that little bit of miracle 2.0 from Nick Foles and the team in the playoffs, almost beating the Saints last year in the divisional round, and hopefully they can come back and win this tough division against the Cowboys. Well, they'll be competing head-to-head against Dallas to win this division, and then going on in the playoffs and making some noise and hopefully having home field. So the Philadelphia Eagles, I ranked as the most talented team in football. I love their roster. I think they have a top offensive line, maybe the best in the league. It's definitely in the top 5. Their receiving core has added some nice pieces in Deshaun Jackson, and they have Alshon Jeffrey. They have Nelson Aguilar there still. And then you look at the tight end position, Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert, who had a nice rookie season, hopefully building off that. They add Jordan Howard from a trade. They add Miles Sanders from the draft. That offense just got a heck of a ton better with Carson Wentz coming back from injury and hopefully healthy for the entire season, which is the biggest X factor for this football team. Defensively, they replaced Michael Bennett with Malik Jackson. You look at the defense line, they retain Timmy Jernigan. They add Hassan Ridgeway in a trade. They add Vinny Curry back to the fold after Chris Long retires. Zach Brown is signed on a very nice one-year contract. And they add Andrew Sendejo to the secondary. This is a team that has a ton of depth, a ton of pieces, and a win-now roster. Dylan, what is your record for 2019 for the EAGLES Eagles?
Those Eagles, baby. I got a 12-4 record for them, and that is good for first in the division and first in the NFC. So I expect them to have the first-round bye. Now, like as I said in the Cowboys preview, this is a very back-and-forth matchup. I think it's a two-headed race for this division. I can see the Cowboys winning this division and getting that first seed. I can see the Eagles. But overall, I had the Eagles at a 5-1 division record with one loss against the Cowboys, and the Cowboys having a 4-2 divisional record. So I had the Eagles would have the better record. You touched on a lot of pieces. I'll go through very quickly. This team is just loaded with talent. I mean, if you don't think their starter, I mean, you got a great starter and then you got a great backup. You know, there's no really bad scenario for this team. The receiver core, I think, is very good. Alshon Jeffrey, Deshaun Jackson's coming back into the game, which I think is great for this team. Nelson Aguilar, and then you drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, who I think has a lot of upside and potential. Their offensive line, best in the game. Jason Peters is there, and then they decided, let's just draft Andre Dillard for funsies to replace him later on. And then you've got guys like Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson, Stat. Zach Ertz, second or third best tight end in the game for me. Carson Wentz, you brought it up. Health is the biggest thing. If he's healthy for the full season and plays like Carson Wentz in that MVP candidate season, boom, you're ready to go. You're ready. You give the keys to him. It's going to be a great deal. Running back is stacked with a lot of depth. You got Jordan Howard, Miles Sanders, who they drafted in the second round. I got a lot of hype for. Darren Sproles, you got him there for one more year. A couple of other guys. I like the talent there. Defense, stacked. I want to see Derek Burnett take a little bit more of a step up here in year 3. I think he's had good moments, but he hasn't been the biggest contributor to this team. Fletcher Cox is great. Brandon Graham, Zach Brown. Secondary is the question for me, or not the question, but they're probably their biggest weakness on defense, and that's not saying much. Like, this team is still pretty solid. It's just about who's going to take that number one step from overall. You got Malcolm Jenkins there, who's obviously great, but it's about their corners, basically. Ronald Darby, Sidney Jones, Avonte Maddox, Creevon LeBlanc. Who's going to take that biggest step up? For me, I want to see all 4 of these guys step up into bigger roles, because Ronald Darby, I think, has been looked as the number 1, but he's been hurt and hasn't been the best. And I think guys like Avonte Maddox stepped up in 2018 to be the best one we had here. So overall, this team is great. A lot of stat talent, a lot of potential. Going 12-4, I think about it and I look at this team and I'm like, it's going to be hard to stop them. It's going to be hard for teams to really try to find a game plan, and that's why I have them here number 1. In a very loaded NFC, this is the best team.
You have to mention their coaching staff. Doug Peterson's one of the best coaches in the league already, just basically having 3 seasons under his belt. It's been phenomenal. And then you look at Jim Schwartz on the defensive side of the ball. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in football. Definitely could be a head coaching candidate for sure. And Derek Barnett, you brought up his name. I think he is the guy that is like the question in terms of what are we going to see in his season this year? Is it going to be a step up? Is it going to be really his breakout season? Because I think they're looking for him to make that breakout season. He was drafted pretty highly. He had great production in college. We're looking for that step up. And of course, with Chris Long gone, they kind of lost that extra pass rushing presence. And they have Brandon Graham, they have Derek Barnett, and Vinny Curry's more of a run stuffing defensive end. So finding that third guy as that pass rushing edge guy is going to be intriguing to me. Malik Jackson, of course, will add some pass rush of his own, and Fletcher Cox is an absolute monster. And then the secondary, like the corner position is really interesting because, like you said, I feel like with like 6 of these guys or 5 of these guys, they're relatively around the same level. So like, who's going to be the starters? Who's going to take the back seat? How's the competition going to unfold? I think that's really interesting for not just me, but Eagles fans as well. And they dominate games at the line of scrimmage. Their offensive line, their defensive line is what makes me so confident in their consistency to win games. And it's a lot like the Cowboys in their own right. So the Eagles, to me, are the best team in the NFC on paper. I think they will put that on the field. They have a great coaching staff, and I believe in them. And I also believe that Carson Wentz will remain healthy this season. I have them at 13-3 and the number 1 seed in the NFC. Yeah, 13-3. It's tied for my highest record in the NFL and the highest record in the NFC. So the Philadelphia Eagles possibly could win the Super Bowl this season. They're definitely in the conversation. Let us know in the comment section below if you believe they will get it done. Like the like button, subscribe to The Bottom Line View for more NFL videos just like this. It's Mitch and Dylan. Thanks for watching, and peace out.